Sounds good.
Wonderful. All right, it's 7:30 on the clock. We seem good to go. I can see folks already starting to come in. I always love it when people are on time. So thank you so much for joining in. And you know what? We're gonna get started because we love we love being on time. And yeah, so welcome everyone. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us on this Wednesday evening. We've got a really fantastic workshop lined up for you over the next 60 minutes. We want to make sure that we use each and every minute of it to offer value to you if you're looking to apply to business school, especially in the United States, and especially if you're applying to business school for fall this year. Applications are still open multiple places till about June 1st. So you've got sort of 2 weeks. If you're finishing up your applications, this is where you want to be. Any last minute questions, concerns, concerns over your SOPs, over essays, how to conduct your interviews, whatever it is about the entire B school application process, now is the time to ask those questions, ask those concerns. And how are you going to get answers to your questions? It's not going to be me giving you gyan. None of that is happening here. We've got real students telling you all the real deal about how to apply to business school in the United States. We've got 3 really different students offering up 3 really different experiences, 3 very different programs, 3 very different universities, and very different profiles as well. So I'm really excited for you guys to get to know the students that we have on our panel today. I'm going to let each one of them introduce themselves, and I'm going to ask them some fun, difficult questions as well, because they've cracked their way on Minute to Business School in the United States. Now, can they crack the application process for the GradRight mentorship program? That's what remains to be seen over the next hour. This is a brand new series, by the way, that we're launching. It's called Blueprint. The idea is to offer up students in India that are looking to apply to business school in the United States, give them a blueprint for success for their study abroad journey. So that's enough for me. I'm going to get straight to it. We've got a ton of people coming in. Feel free to use the Q&A box to ask those questions. We want to make sure that we bring value to you. We don't want to be giving you any gyan. We want to make sure that we use this 1 hour to answer all your questions. If you've got SOPs that you want reviewed, if you're stuck on an essay question, if you're concerned about how to prepare for an interview, whatever it is, we want to make sure that we tap into our students who've already been there, who've already done that, and can answer all of those questions. So I'm going to start with whoever I see first on screen. And hi, good morning. It's Anish. Anish is joining us from Baruch College, CUNY. Can you tell us what you're studying, where we know, but how you got there, and maybe sort of a little bit about your background?
Sure. Thank you, Priyanka. So, hello everyone. My name is Anish Biju Soman. I'm actually hailing from Trivandrum, Kerala, India. I basically did my undergrad in mechanical engineering and then pivoted myself to go into management, because during that time I realized, okay, that's my focus of interest and that's where I want to be in life. So initially I was working 2 years back in India in a startup company, and then for some time in a growing AI development company. After that, I realized I wanted to do a degree in management, and MBA seemed like a right way to go. Why New York or why CUNY was the main reason is ever since I was small, like for most Indians, I grew up watching Friends and all those TV series. I wanted to be in New York. So it was a very simple decision for me. I'm not going to apply anywhere else in the world. I'm going to apply only in New York. And yeah, I applied for most of the schools in New York, at least most of the range of schools I could apply with my GMAT score and my undergrad score. And I just applied for a few schools. I got accepted for all of them, and I decided CUNY to be one of the best for my focus. And I'm doing a general MBA right now, and that is my current goal. And right now, I'm looking for like summer internships and jobs, mainly in the profile of business analytics and operations.
Amazing. That's super comprehensive. And I think it's so valuable for students that, might be in exactly the place that you were sort of a couple of months ago, trying to figure out, I have a certain ambitions. This is what I want to do. How do I get there? I really want to know about your shortlisting process as well. How did you specifically decide on Baruch? Considering all the multiple options that are available out there. We know how you've decided on New York. And I think that'll be something that'll be super relatable to so many people who sort of grew up watching Friends and other fun shows like that, right? So I'm going to definitely ask a little bit more about that, over the course of the next 60 minutes. But Sonu, you're kind of close to New York. Was that ever an option? Can you tell us a little bit about what you're doing, where you're doing, and how far from New York you really are?
Yeah, so my name is Sonu Agarwal. I'm a student at NJIT in Martin Tuckman School of Management, enrolled in MSM with my concentration as business analytics. Yeah, and last year I came to US just to visit different universities. Like I visited the campus for Rutgers, I visited NJIT, I visited Princeton. So, but NJIT, when I entered NJIT, the positive vibes I got from that campus, I really don't know the kind of professors I met with them, the words they gave me. And I was like, yes, this is my school. I have to be here. So I started with my application process and all the things I worked on. And my focus was, yes, I have to be in NJIT. Yeah, and NJIT is reachable from Newark. You can, it is just 30 minutes drive. So it's like, yes, you are in the center, like, yes. So that was also my concern. And I would like to share a little thing. Like yesterday in our university, we had our grad function for the students. So I had a word with all the students who were passing out. And I was like, yes, what's the status for your jobs? Like I've heard that recession is going on and people are afraid that, yes, if we come to US and what will be the job status. So 99% of the students were in job. They have just passed out and they are having jobs in their hands. So that was a motivation for me. Yes, that like we were hearing that the recession is going on, but that made me think, yes, no, I am pretty good and I will be in a good, I'll get the job when I do my degree completion. Yeah.
You've hit the nail on the head. I think as part of the GradRight student community, we get tons of questions and concerns, especially now, right? Everyone's looking at the headlines pouring in, the world's going into recession, banks are failing, all kinds of things are happening. Is this really the right time to go to business school? And I think it's fantastic to hear sort of, real talk from a student that, yeah, this might actually be probably the best time to go in and upskill yourself and you're ready for, as things sort of bounce back, you're prepared. So fantastic. We've got two folks, one right bang in the center of New York, one 30 minutes away from New York City. We've got another one joining us. Hi, good morning, Aryan. Aryan is on the other side of the country and closer to Silicon Valley, in fact, a very different experience. Aryan, tell us a little bit about what you're studying, where you're studying, and how you chose that program.
Thank you, Priyanka, and good to see you again. So, my name is Aryan Bharadwaj. I'm a first year MBA and MS Data Science student at Willamette University. It is here in Pacific Northwest. So, Pacific Northwest is Oregon, Seattle. I came here because I was really interested in Pacific Northwest. I had friends here. I knew about the area. I really liked it. So, I knew it. I wanted to be here. So I checked these schools in the Pacific Northwest area, and like Willamette is ranked second in this area. So it was among my target schools. And also one of the things on my radar was to now not have like huge fees burden for myself. That was pretty clear for me. I had a relatively higher GMAT score, so I leveraged that to get a very good scholarship, and that's why I chose this. Apart from this, I applied for George Washington University in the US and some in the Europe because my background is like bachelor's in German studies, so I was very interested in the Europe too. I worked for 5 years before coming for my MBA, and yeah, now I'm here. Yeah, and as Sonu mentioned, yeah, there's job market is not doing great well. There were tech layoffs, but everyone is getting internships and stuff like that. And yeah, so we have very good relations with Intel because Intel is right here in
Mhm.
Portland. So a lot of students went there, Morgan Stanley, stuff like that. So yeah, only you have to in tough times you have to be a little more outgoing and be more into this stuff, go out and you would be good. So yeah.
Okay, very exciting. I'm so glad that our students can get to know you and sort of see what you're doing, where you're from, where you're at. But I think let's all take a step back, rewind. Just a couple of months ago, all of you were sort of where the students that are joining us today are, where you're sort of really thinking about, filling out all those applications, endless forms, writing your SOPs, customizing each SOP for each program, maybe even debating, is this program really worth applying to? Is this school really worth applying to? It can be quite an overwhelming process, right? Like really making those decisions. How do you know you're making the right choice? Is this SOP really selling myself as a candidate? How can I make this better? So I want to talk about all of those things in greater detail. We have some questions that are starting to come in, and I encourage everyone that's here. Whole idea of this is to keep it super raw, super candid. I've been in events with Sonu and Aryan before, and I can guarantee that they are all about the real talk. They'll give you the good, the bad, the ugly, no marketing gimmicks, no sales pitches, fully real talk. And again, that's the whole idea of this hour-long process, is how do we really make sure, especially if you're applying to business school for fall 23, all three schools, in fact, NGIT, Willamette, Baruch, are accepting applications till June 1st. So if you've got specific questions about these programs, these schools, now is the best time to ask them. If you're sort of thinking about, okay, maybe I'll apply to business school next year, perfect. No time like now to get started. So wherever you are in your journey, I'd encourage you to drop those questions in the Q&A box and let us know, what is it that we can help you with specifically. Oh, fantastic. One interesting question I have to ask. All of you, two of you are doing a business analytics track. One of you is doing a data science track, totally in that sort of the tech side of things. A question coming in, can you talk a little bit about the impact of ChatGPT on SOPs and other essays for college applications? Do you recommend students that are applying to business school use ChatGPT? Anish, I can see you have something to say on this.
Yeah, being in business school, ChatGPT is one of the major discussions that we have in every class, regardless of whatever course you're doing. And it has a very big impact in our lives right now, especially if you're doing a professional work. ChatGPT has a really good impact. But in the case that you asked that would you use ChatGPT for making your SOPs, you should realize that it's an AI tool where people are asking the same questions again and again. So everyone will be having the same points if you use ChatGPT as, for making your SOPs. But at the same time, you should leverage the knowledge ChatGPT has. You should take up the points that ChatGPT has to offer and then recreate your own SOP. Should not be, copy pasting an SOP from ChatGPT. Because I am very sure plagiarizing tools and all the other tools will be used by, recruiters or admission teams as well, so that they know you put in the effort or whatever you say is true. So use ChatGPT for reference points, but make your statement of purpose your own. The colleges value so when I was speaking with the admissions team later on after joining my college, they were saying that they want what you have to offer, what actually you as a person has to offer. It doesn't actually mean your high grades or your high accomplishments. Sometimes it's what you can bring to the table as a character. So yeah, make sure that you can balance that out when you are using ChatGPT or when you're using any tools for you making an SOP.
Yeah, I love that. Can you, Sonu or Aryan, do you want to come in on that? Would you recommend using, is there a smart way to use ChatGPT, do you think? Or would you just be like, no, please just don't even think about it?
Yeah, no, I would literally like share a question here. Like if you ask ChatGPT, what is the square root of 9? So just check, go on ChatGPT today and check for what's the square root of 9. So what will be the answer? And you can know that you should be following ChatGPT for your SOP or not. Just go and check, just have a look that what ChatGPT gives you the answer, and then you will know. Yeah, you have to, how much you have to follow ChatGPT. Yes, you can have the literal, like you can have an idea from ChatGPT that these points should be considered while making an SOP for yourself or creating an essay. But don't just cut, copy, paste the whole stuff from ChatGPT. Because this was shared by my professor. Like he was telling us in the class that, okay, you people did your assignments from ChatGPT. That's very good. But he asked us to just check for the square root of 9. So it was like, yes, we should not be following ChatGPT 100%. Yeah, so I would like all the students to just check for the square root of 9 and you'll get the answer that how much you should go in for ChatGPT. Yeah.
Aryan, thoughts as someone doing an MBA plus data science, pretty competitive admissions process. Would you have chosen to use ChatGPT?
So yeah, as both of them mentioned, no, don't like write a SOP for me and copy paste it. SOP is very personalized, you have to make it about yourself. You have to tell your story through SOP and you have to sell yourself. ChatGPT cannot do it for you. What you can do is like ask ChatGPT, what does a very strong SOP has? Look at the points. If it can pull out some examples for you, it might ask for that. But apart from that, don't go in and just like type in the query that please write a SOP for me. That won't work. Just for SOP, it's not hard. It's all about how you can leverage your strong points, how can sell them to the B school, how you can show them that yeah, you got this. You can be part of a professional community for 2 years, and then you are very good to go and join the professional world out there. So
yeah, it's literally like the first way to like a first branding and marketing exercise in that sense, right? Really getting you ready for business school. So Sushmita asks, can you break down what should be the most effective format for an SOP? And I don't know if you have, all three of you have access to maybe your SOPs that got you into these particular programs, or if you remember sort of how you worked out that process, or how many iterations it took. Maybe Anish, I can start with you. Do you remember sort of how you came and how you crafted that narrative for instance, you talked about telling that story, presenting yourself as that character. Can you tell us a little bit about, more details, like how did you actually write your SOP?
So yeah, my SOP, I used to refer a lot of people's SOPs. I went and read I remember that when I was applying, I read at least 10 to 20 SOPs of people. But then I realized, okay, this is not what I wanted to do. And my SOP was sort of my own, I would say. I had 6 paragraphs in total. My first paragraph was what I am looking to do in the future. So that is like any business statement. My problem statement was the first paragraph. And from the next paragraph was like from my journey from childhood, so I was applying for my MBA. I only applied for MBA anywhere. So from my next paragraph was all situations in my life, let's just say from school, which pushed me towards going into management. Why I felt that I want to be an MBA student, why I wanted to be a manager in future. And this went from high school to undergrad, then my work. This was my next 3 paragraphs. And then I concluded overall at the end by saying my goals after my MBA. So uh, putting it out there, my goal is like in my late 30s or like 35 to 40, I want to be a CEO of a MNC. So that's my goal. And that is where my MBA is going to take me. So that is how I concluded my SOP. So I would recommend that process. Like you have your own, thought process, your goals in life and why you are going to do this. You have your reasons. And just don't say that your reason is to go out of India. That may be a reason, a reason maybe also for me, it was to study in New York, but don't put it like that. Frame it in such a way that why New York is going to be the best opportunity for you to, go there. So one of the paragraph before the last was like, why New York is the best opportunity for me to, leverage and becoming, going into my next level of career.
I love that. Aryan, do you remember sort of what it was that got you into Willamette?
As Anish mentioned, know yourself. He knew about he wanted to be in New York. I knew that I wanted to be in Pacific Northwest. So ask yourself that, and it's totally fine if you are not like area agnostic in the US. You just wanted to be in the US. That's fine too. I would like go through my SOP. I have pulled it up and wait a second. Yeah. Start with like introducing normal stuff, then go about like what did you do, why you did it, how well. If you did like pretty well, just highlight it. That would sell you. Apart from that, if you worked, talk about your professional experience, what you did, how it can relate to MBA. That's very super important. Every point you make, try to relate it to the MBA and how like it would make you a very strong candidate for the program. Talk about short-term and long-term goals that you have. Super important for the MBA, having that clarity, and then concluding that why you are a strong fit for this school. Apart from this, address the questions why this program, why, I mean, that includes why this university, and then why this area if you want to, like why the US. And if you are particular about your area, let's say you want to be in New York, talk about why New York. If you not, talk about why the US. You love the job market, or you love the opportunities that the US economy has to offer. Whatever you want to talk about it. And these 4 or 5 points, if you follow this structure, it should be fine.
Yeah, fantastic. I thank you so much for taking out your actual SOP and sort of talking us through it. Sonu, do you remember, I know that you talked about sort of visiting the year before and really wanting to apply to NJIT Techman specifically. And you're doing sort of what we like to call sort of a mini MBA. But what was it about your SOP that you think, really got you in?
Yeah, the points Aaron shared, like you have to think about 4 or 5 things that have to be there. Like first, why US, why abroad? Okay. Then second, which city or which part of US? Then third, what is your concentration you want to go in for? Like it should be related to your previous study or what you have done in your career. Like if you are working, you have experience, then how will you inculcate that experience into your next master's? So that thing. And then which school, like why this school? Like if you have, I would add here, don't apply for just 1 or 2, apply for as many schools as you want. Like when you go in for your visa interview, the visa officer will ask you that how many schools you have applied for. And you have to have the, try to get the admit from all the schools, maximum of the schools, so that you can say that, yes, I am a good applicant. Like I'll be good for US, because US has not asked you to come, but you are going there. So you have to show them that, yes, I am a good student. I'll be a positive thing, a positive person for US. So I would like to add all these points in your SOP.
Fantastic. I love that. And actually, that's something I want to talk a little bit about, because all three of you have very different profiles. And I want to spend some time talking about how did you incorporate those kinds of things in your SOPs? How did you really bring out your personalities and make sure that your admissions teams are seeing you beyond just your GRE, GMAT, your TOEFL, IELTS, your CGPA, all of those kinds of things. They're just the numbers and all the boring things. How did you show personality in your application? And Anish, maybe I can throw that to you first. You talked a little bit about how you pivoted from engineering to management. You have a very interesting story. You've worked in a startup for 2 years. How did you talk about yourself in a way that really showed you as a real person?
So basically, my SOP was structured in that way as a story. So my intention was to, whoever is reading my SOP is going to read a story, the story of my life till when I'm going to do my MBA. So I added, so for example, I'm doing my management, right? I'm doing MBA. So my first part of the story was, yeah, I want to do my MBA because I started my story in high school when I first organized an event in school, which was a national debate competition, which showed my interest into management. But I was not sure because due to an Indian culture where you either become an engineer or a doctor, I was pushed to that streams. And yeah, I decided to do my engineering. And while I did my engineering, I got exposed to the American Society of Mechanical Engineers, which was a club in the college. And I came to the US twice for meetings for that particular club. So I wrote about that and I told them, okay, when I came to the US, I realized that I really belonged in an international setting and my focus or my passion was in management. So I was able to bring out that part, so bring a relation why during my mechanical engineering degree, my passion was always management. And then after I completed my undergrad, I was able to, immediately pivot, not do anything in mechanical engineering, but immediately applied as a management intern in a startup. And I worked there for 2 years, grew up in the ladders as an assistant till an assistant manager. And then I realized, okay, to grow up further, I need a background in management. So for the next 8 months, I was like thinking, okay, what am I going to do? I started applying. Okay, my goal is US. I want to go to New York. I want to work there for a few years. And then I started applying for colleges in New York. So this was the process that I told in the story. So I made them realize, okay, I don't think anywhere in my SOP I mentioned my GMAT or IELTS score. I was just framing it as a story so that, when they read it, it's easy for them. So let's just say I was working in HR before, like in the startup, you get to do different roles. So I was also working as an HR. So reading through people's resumes, their, what do you say, uh, cover letters, it's more about, being entertained by it, not being bored about reading through a lot of things. That is same, if someone is telling their own passionate story, it shows their passion into their job. And even for a college, it shows that, okay, when you're coming here, they are going to show that passion in that institute. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times, as a student who is applying, you're sort of applying to multiple universities, you've got so much paperwork to do, you kind of forget that there's actual human beings that are looking at these applications and really want to, see you succeed and really see, sure, you're choosing them, but they also need a reason to choose you. And what could that reason be? And I think, SOPs and essays and interviews are such fantastic opportunities to really showcase yourself as, yes, I am the perfect candidate for you. Sona, would you like to comment on that? Because you have a fascinating journey to get to business school. If you can tell us a little bit about that and sort of, how did you talk about that experience and sort of where you are now?
And thank you. Yeah, so I would like to share my own experience here. I've been working as assistant professor from last 14 years in Chandigarh in Government College. I was taking up classes for Bachelor's of Computer Science and Master's in Information Technology. But as the scenario was, I was listening about the recession, like the technology, the tech people are not having jobs or something like that. So I was like, yes, if I have to go to US, so I have to club my technology to something so that I can be a good person or I can have a job in my hand after my master's. So I thought, yes, a management course with a combination of technology would be a perfect combination for me to land up in US with a good job. So that's how I tried to figure out for a course for myself that it might be master's in science and management with business analytics, because business analytics is taken as a first step. Like after that, it is data sciences. You can upgrade yourself. So, but as an introductory to enter, it is like business analytics is the first step you can take. Like it is a combination of management and technology. So this is how I figured out for myself, like, yes, I have to be there. And my teaching experience in India, I could not really get something in my hand with that teaching experience. So I had to upgrade myself. And I think that to enter in another country, there are two ways. First is job and the second is education. So I didn't have job in my hand. So I thought of taking education, and education, it had to be clubbed with my experience and my previous study. So my master's in computer applications. And then I thought, yes, now a degree in management would be a good combination for myself. So that's how I landed up in doing MSM. Yeah. Thank you, Priyanka.
Fantastic. Aryan, let's talk a little bit about your program, because that'll help explain sort of how you made that switch into business school. It's a very specific MBA program. It's an early career change MBA. How did you talk about your switch from sort of being a German language specialist and having all these 5 very interesting years of experience, and then coming into an MBA?
Yeah, before I start that, I would like to congratulate Sonu. That's a fantastic journey. That's really good. I mean, I'm pretty impressed. So yeah, but yeah, about my journey. So I come from very different background, German studies. So, what I did was I leveraged what I was interested in. I talked about I'm interested in international relations and geopolitics, and how every big company now is MNC, multinational companies. So how I can put my experience from there. I had subjects like that, Indo-China relations, European Union subjects like that. I studied that, so I just put that there, that my interest in this can be leveraged in multinational companies who are operating in now multiple countries, dozens of countries at the same time. And I want to be go into the international business segment and stuff like that, because it's about breaking in the college. It doesn't matter what you do afterwards, to be honest. And things change. It's not like that you are lying to them. It's like things change. When I came here, I came only for MBA, but when I started doing data in the first semester, I realized how much I loved problem solving, how much I would like to utilize it. And I just, after taking the first course in the first semester, I realized I might do as well data science as well, and I got in. So yeah, so starting with I talked about my leadership. I had throughout my academic journey right from school, I had held leadership positions. I talked about that, how I'm pretty good with people, because management is all about people, to be honest. So everything else, it's about how you manage the people. So talk about stuff. Talk about look into yourself. What you think is you excel at, and you can connect it with your MBA. What skills do you have, and just leverage that. Apart from that, yeah, I talked about my interest in international relations, my leadership positions, my interest in problem solving, and how I have always been interested in management, and and then, as you mentioned, it's the early career or career change. So it was not hard me to tell that I want to change my career from what I'm doing currently to the management track. So that was not that hard, but yeah.
Fantastic. And we've got some really interesting questions coming in the Q&A box. I definitely want to take some time to answer those. First question. Is it okay to add humor in an SOP? What are your thoughts? Sonu, maybe we can start with you. Would you add humor in an SOP, or would you recommend it?
Like Anish said, it should be in the form of a story. Yes. So while you are continuing with your career, yes, a tagline can be added, but it should be it is you who you are telling what kind of a person you are. It's you, it's your image. Basically, the person sitting in abroad, he doesn't know you. So that's your image, that's your picture. So yes, it is not wrong. It's yes, you can add humor, but it should be a decent one. Yes, a tagline can be there.
Yeah. Okay. So if you're going to add humor, be smart about it. Don't sort of force it. If it makes sense in your story, sure, go ahead. Okay. Interesting. Anish, what are your thoughts? Would you recommend adding humor?
Oh, I would piggyback on what Sonu said. Exactly, be smart about what you place in your what do you say, SOP. Make sure when you are reading it, you don't, feel it's okay, this person. At the end of the day, when you read your own SOP, you should be proud of yourself. If you
Yeah.
feel that way, it's fine.
Mhm.
Yeah. Aryan,
That's
thoughts?
the end goal.
Yeah.
Just one line, make someone else read your SOP for yourself and make sure you doesn't come out as a clown, okay, if you're adding humor. Make sure it's very professional. People love interesting people. That's the thing, especially over here. People like working with people who are cool and who are interesting, so that's fine. But make sure it's very relevant, very decent, and yeah, make any 2-3 people, make them read your SOP. If they recommend it, they are like, yeah, this doesn't portray you as a person who is not serious, is not a clown. Okay, you're good to go. If it's like because it's all about, as Anish mentioned, how you are perceived. You would be perceived on based on your SOP, right? Because they don't know you, they didn't have your interview yet. They would decide, they will go with the interview after the SOP and your whole application. So I would say, yeah, it has to be very professional. It's a tough work, but yeah.
I love that advice. So super practical. So if you're going to add humor, be smart about it. Show your personality, because that's the whole idea of an SOP. But maybe have a couple of people that you know and trust and respect. Maybe read through it before you hit that send button. Excellent advice. Another question coming in. Is it wise to highlight words or phrases in your SOP, or should one just work efficiently by dividing the content into paragraphs? How to make an SOP catchy to the eye in the first impression? Interesting question, sort of formatting related. Like, does it make sense to go crazy or just keep it simple? Thoughts? Anish, I'll come to you first.
I would say in an SOP, highlighting wouldn't be a good part. Based on my experience, or however SOPs that I have read, I have never seen that. So I can't advocate that. So I would say just making it paragraph wise, not having like, again, it's a story. So a story it's not going to have highlighted points or bullet points. You just get captured through the story at one particular point, is that it brings focus. Okay, you're going to remember that part of the story or the moral of the story, which here is you. You are the moral of your SOP. You are the character that is standing out in the SOP. So I think it's about showing that through your words. And I think, yeah, formatting it won't be a good option, as far as I think.
Yeah. Any strong thoughts on formatting from Sonu or Aryan? Otherwise, I can go to the next question.
The same, yeah. The formatting should be the bullets and everything. It should be like paragraph form, and the paragraphs should have the typical content, like the first paragraph, what you want to add, second, third, fourth, fifth, and last, which should be what next, what after this completion of your course, what will be your next step. So I don't think so bulleting or keeping some caps or something like that won't work.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would just add to that. First, write the layout for the SOP, then write the SOP. That's pretty clear by right now. Talk about, like, first write down 4 or 5 paras that you would talk about, headline them, and then once you're done with that, then start writing SOP. And in writing, mostly the first line of the para, you talk about that line in the para. That's the topic for that. So it's like mini essay within the essay. So that's a way to go. No highlighting, no bullet points, as other mentioned.
Absolutely. Excellent advice. I love that. Sort of each paragraph, think of it as sort of complete and of its own. Have your first sentence really be that strong, decisive statement that says, and then sort of expand on it within that paragraph. Great advice. Adil asks, and then I think, I want to move on from SOP because there's so much more in a business school application. But Adil asks, in your opinion, is a well-written SOP much more important than GMAT and undergraduate scores? For example, I heard that schools accepted a 3.4 GPA because of a candidate's SOP instead of a 4.3 person. What are your thoughts? Do you think an SOP can really make or break a business school application?
I can take that one. Uh, for sure, in a business, any business school here. As far as I know, it has a grading structure for everything. So it's like 25% for this, 15% for this. It may be like 25% for your grade, 15% for your resume, 15% for your SOP. So everything has a weightage. So if your grades are strong, you get that 25%. But at the same time, if your SOP is strong, it gets that 15%. I know for a fact that each school values each of these things differently. So they have their own acceptance criteria. So it depends on each school that you're applying it. If an SOP, and we won't know that earlier on. We just know that these are the requirements. But yeah, definitely it can be possible that someone with a very good SOP gets more weightage on that side and gets accepted without, a really good score. But it can't be certain. It's not something that we can say for certain. It depends on the school and depends on who is grading you or which admissions team is taking care of you, what they value at that point. Maybe they have a lot of order for my MBA cohort. I was speaking to the team and they were like, yeah, we wanted people to round it up. I am the youngest person in my cohort. So everyone is other than that is 30s or 35. My academic score during undergrad was not that good. My GMAT score is pretty decent. But they wanted someone like me who has an experience from startups and an experience from a different sector that no one else in the cohort has, so that I can round it up. That was what they were valuing. So it depends on what the admissions team is looking for.
That's such an interesting insight, I think, because so many times people sort of just look at, what are typical classes like, what is a certain GMAT score required for X business school, what are the GPA requirements for X business school, what are the previous class profiles looking like, and sort of, sometimes check off really great schools and programs simply because they think they're not going to be able to make it in just based on certain numbers or certain other criteria. And I think the whole idea of today is to sort of really offer up the counter argument to that is you can really sell yourself well in places like SOPs, in places like in interviews, which is what I want to spend the next sort of, 10, 15 minutes talking about. Did all of you have questions, have interviews as part of your application process? Anish, Aryan, I know Aryan, you did. Yeah, Anish and Sonu, did you guys have interviews as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, excellent, because I really want to spend some time on that. I think it's such an underrated part of the application process. And that's something that's really in your control, right? You may have given the GMAT, GRE once, twice, and, sort of that happened, those scores went in. Your GPA, of course, over your college career was a certain score, but you could really prep for an interview and it can really change things around for you. Perhaps you'll even get a higher scholarship based on sort of how you perform in that interview, among other things. So Sonu, maybe I can start with you. Can you tell me a little bit about what that interview process was like? How did you prepare for it? And then, I'd love to hear from all of you. And then I also want to ask, do you remember specific questions that you had to answer?
Yeah. So I had B1, B2 visa, and my counselor, he said that yes, a drop down would work for you because they will not be calling for an interview. So I was like comfortable that yes, I'll not have to face a interview process. But then some 20 days after my application was submitted and everything, I got a letter that yes, you have to face the interview. So I went and I was like pretty scared, like yes, because I had an experience of 14 years and my education gap was lots. So that was the main area. I was like, how to cover that up? Like the officer will be like, after 20 years, why again into education?
Yeah. So you're talking about the US visa interview, right?
Yeah.
Okay, go. Sorry, I was talking about sort of business school application interviews or like business, like for Tuckman and things like that. But I do want to hear I want to hear your experience though, because a lot of people ask us about the US visa process. So maybe go ahead and then I'll talk about the.
Okay, no, sorry for I couldn't get you.
It's absolutely fine.
Okay, so I landed. I was like, my counselor gave me around 14 to 15 questions that are usually asked by the officer. Even if you follow the ChatGPT would give you the answer, like what all questions should be prepared for the visa interview. So there are around a list of 20 questions. Usually students prepare for that. And I remember that last night when in the morning I had to go, I was like, just writing the answers again and again, like, yes, what I have to speak in front of the officer. And I still remember that night, I could not sleep, like, yes, what will happen and what will come in, because we really don't know what the person sitting against that window is thinking about you. So I remember one question from him. He was like, yes, you are saying you have done your master's in India. So why second master's? So I was like, yeah, I was prepared for that question. So I was like, yeah, because it's my master's in computer applications. And now it's a combination of computer applications with management. That's a good combination. So that's why I want to go in for management. Yeah. So that was my visa interview. And he was like pretty happy with my answer. And he was like, yes, you are accepted.
Love it. Okay, I'm going to come back to you on sort of the B school interview, but I actually want to quickly ask Anish and Aryan as well. Do you have recollections of what it was like for that dreaded, F1 visa interview, what that process was like? Do you guys remember what kinds of questions you were asked or sort of how you prepped for that process? Aryan, maybe I can start with you and then Anish.
You're talking about F1, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So my F1 visa interview was pretty short, I think max 2 minutes. I think he asked only one question to me, why Willamette? And I just answered it because I just told them. And he also mentioned in that question, there was it was several questions clubbed together. He was like, how do you get to know about Willamette? It's not like a huge university out there. So I told him generally how so I was looking at the profile of CEO of Deloitte, Mr. Puneet Ranjan, who is an Indian, and he graduated from Willamette back then. So that's how I got to know about Willamette in the first place. And then I talked about how I wanted to be in Pacific Northwest and I wanted my debt to be low and I was looking for a good scholarship and stuff like that. So structure it. So it could be longer interview. Mine was pretty short. For some reason, I got lucky or something, but yeah. So it depends like where you go. Mine was in Kolkata because in Delhi my slot was later, so I just booked Kolkata and went there. But it depends on which consulate, which embassy you are going, stuff like that. But yeah, so as Sonu mentioned, prepare a list of questions. There are a list of questions out there you can see. Just prepare them pretty well, and it should be all right. It's US is granting visas as per now, so you should be good.
Yeah. Anish, any thoughts on sort of your US visa interview? And then I'm going to come back to your actual B school interview after that.
Yeah, I didn't have a visa interview. I actually had a US visa earlier, so I just got it waived. Yeah, but as far as my friends who all did the process or whoever I helped, is the same thing that Sonu mentioned. Like, have a list of questions prepared and don't go there to lie. Just, have answers prepared which are actually true, because I feel, they are very good at reading your body language. So just be clear on what you want to show.
Yeah, fantastic. Great tips from everyone. Okay. Anish, I'm going to start with you and we'll just go in reverse order. Do you remember what your interview process was like for CUNY? Did you have, was it who conducted the interview? What kind of questions did they ask? How did you prepare for it?
Yeah. So during my interview process, it was like two people. I took the interview against two people. One person was from the admissions team. The second person was from my department, the Department of of Management. And I basically had three questions. I remember them clearly. One is, can you tell us about yourself? The basic, your elevator pitch. The second part was, have you had a situation in your workplace where you had to deal with an uncertainty, and how did you deal with that situation? And the third question was, have you had a situation where you had to collaborate with different types of people from different backgrounds? How were you able to manage that situation? Did you find a problem in doing that? So these were the three questions that I had addressed.
Awesome. Aryan, what about you? What was that interview process like? Who asked the questions? And did it change things around for you at all?
Yeah, for me, it was Dean, Associate Dean, and so it was a long interview for me. It was like 30 minutes. I don't remember like all the questions, but of course the starters, tell me about yourself, why Willamette, why MBA right now. So it was not why MBA, why MBA right now, why you want to switch right now and stuff like that. Then then if I can remember correctly, it was about how confident you are that you can make switch from your background to an MBA, where this would be quant and stuff like that, you know. You didn't have exposure to quantitative methods back then in your undergrad or your work life. So yeah, so again, make a list of questions. There are a list of questions available. Talk to other people who already have done that, you know, make a comprehensive list of questions. Then there could be situational questions too. So pretty decent advice. There's a format called STAR: situation, task, action, result. They could be there, as Anish mentioned, how like instead of asking how you do well with others, they can ask you, tell about a time where you were in a difficult spot within a team. Then you like come up with star format. And yeah, apart from that, the whole goal of your application process is to land that interview. So that's your chance to do well, make it about yourself, kind of like try to take hold of it from the interviewer. I would even suggest that. Depends on how rigorously you prepare for the interview. Being nervous is fine. They know you might be nervous, so that's all right. But just get into the game and like, yeah. And final advice, make a very like robust list of questions you want to ask. Make them as hard as you can. That shows you that you are really interested. You have done your research and you are like asking good questions is very important part. It could be like 30% of the interview if you should really ask good questions, because now they know you are really interested, you did your research, you are not just someone who is like, yeah, slacking off. So that would be my advice.
Yeah, great advice. Use that time to make it a dialogue, not just sort of an interrogation or an interview per se. Love that. Sonu, do you remember who interviewed you and sort of what the questions were like for Techman?
No, I didn't face any interview like for the admission. My paperwork, my experience was like they were satisfied, and I haven't heard like NJIT puts in for interviews. Your SOPs, your essays, and your GPA, it makes an admit for you for NJIT.
Got it. Got it. And actually, I'm curious, we haven't really necessarily talked about essays. So do you remember what the essays were like, or what kinds of essays you had to fill?
No, for grad, NJIT doesn't ask for essays. So
Okay.
I had to submit my SOP. So I was like, that was my condition. Yeah.
Got it. Got it. Anish and Aryan, were there essays, were they part of your process, your admissions application process?
Yeah, I just I forgot about that. We had to submit an essay, so I just pulled it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, one question was, why are you looking to pursue an MBA or MS at this point in your life? What do you see yourself doing professionally upon graduation? What key actions have you taken up to this point to prepare you for this career? This was one of the questions. So, and the second question was, discuss a social issue that you feel strongly about and how you will contribute to the solution. These were the two essays that we had to do
Fascinating.
during.
Yeah.
So I think we had 3 essays and we could choose any 2. So I did these 2.
Very interesting. Aryan, do you remember were essays part of your process as well?
And if I'm right, there were none. It was
Hmm.
SOP.
Hmm.
But yeah, I have written essays for other universities,
Yeah.
and mostly, as Anish mentioned, 2 or 3. So max would be 3, I guess. And if there are more, they would be like 150 words, 200 words max. So
Got it.
it won't be that hard. SOP is like more important.
Yeah.
But
Actually, so that's a question that we had come in. How do you juggle? Because obviously, your SOP is so much about a reflection of who you are, but presumably you're applying to multiple schools, multiple different kinds of programs. Perhaps you're applying to an MBA in one place, or maybe an MS in management in another. Are you rewriting the same SOP in slightly different ways? Are you writing a completely new SOP from scratch? I think Aryan and Anish, both of you applied to multiple schools. How did you tackle that? And Anish, maybe I can start with you first.
Yeah, so for me, I had a base format for my SOP because I only applied for MBA. So I only had to change the parts where the school is different, and I only applied in New York as well. So the state, the country, all of them remain the same. That school and why I chose that school, that part changed. That first paragraph changed from school to school. But for me, other than that, it was pretty easy because I was only applying in New York. I only applied for MBA, so it was pretty easy for me.
Pretty similar
Yeah.
from, sorry, yeah, go.
Yeah, I would recommend that if you are applying for different schools and different places, and then your SOP should be different at different points. Different courses, definitely it should be different. You should tailor. If you are going for MS Business Analytics, you should tailor your SOP that flows towards business analytics. Let's just say you're going for applying for MBA as well, then tailor it through MBA. Let's just say MBA in business analytics, as Sonu mentioned, it should be like, why you want to do management and you think business analytics is going to take you there. That flow is very important, and you have to figure it out for each application.
Yeah, great advice. Okay, we're almost completely out of time. We're in the last 4 minutes. We still have a couple of questions that we haven't had time to address, all around SOPs. But I was very curious to know if all of you could share with me, one, how long were your SOPs? Like, do you remember, were they like 1,000 words or 500 words, or just a rough idea if you remember? Sort of did that, or was there a word limit that was enforced by the university?
Mine was a full A4 page, so 1,200 words, I guess. But yeah, something like that. Full A4 page for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And until it is specified, don't break that limit, both in your resume until you are like have worked for 20 years or something. So keep it one page, look for the instructions, like pretty clear. Ask admissions team. They are pretty helpful with stuff like that. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that's an underrated resource as well. A lot of times people, like I said, forget that there's real people on the other side of this applications process looking at your applications. And I would highly recommend, all their contact details are available. They make it very easy for you to get in touch with them. That's the whole idea. They want you to talk to them, especially as prospective students. They want to get to know you as you're applying, before you apply, after you've applied, as offer them whatever information that you need, whatever clarifications that you need. So the best thing to do is look up the admissions team for the program that you're applying to, write to them. A lot of them already have like their calendars open. You can just book a slot and sort of talk, on Zoom for 15 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever it is. It's really an excellent and underrated resource to talk directly to the universities you're applying to and really get these kinds of questions answered. They're there to support you through your application. But yeah,
I would like to add a point very really quickly. I'm working in admissions team right now for international students. I can tell you that people are very approachable. The admission load is not that much as back in India, so you would hear back. It would just take time. If your small university is not that big in the size, you would hear back within 2-3 days max. So just hear out. People are much more open to the cold emails too. I saw one question about something like that. So people are, you can imagine who can reply to, even CEOs can reply to. One of my friends got a job at CFO's office because just he emailed him. And so you just need to cold email or stuff like that. Email, you would get a response. Don't worry about that. So utilize that.
I love that. In the land of opportunities, take your shot, shoot your shot, take that opportunity. It's sort of willing here. And I think now it's so easy, right? To figure out ways to get in touch with someone. If their email isn't listed on their website, look them up on LinkedIn. Somewhere you will find out a way to figure out how to get in touch with them. Anish and Sonu, any sort of last thoughts as we sort of wrap?
Same, I would like to add, as Aryan said, I am also working with the admissions in NJIT for the grad students, and I have created a WhatsApp group. So I've emailed to everyone so they can connect to me anytime. Like I know when it's night in India, so it's US time is morning. So little time difference is there, but you can hear from admissions, and as he said, service industry in US is like perfect. They give services like, yes, they own you. Like first you start your application and the university starts to own you. That's the best. And do write to them, do ask whatever you want to, and you'll 100% you'll get the reply. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Anish, any sort of last thoughts or advice that you can have to someone that's applying to business school right now?
Yeah, just one thing, reply to all of your emails that you get. Reply, think about it. People are taking time out from their lives, especially the admissions team. They are sending out, all your questions that you ask, they're responding to you. So take a second to say a thank you. I don't know for everyone, but I feel that that's a huge thing. That's your first step in courtesy and your first step if you are going to put your foot in the door. And if that person who's checking your application is in the interview, she's going to think, okay, this guy replied to all of my emails and he's like, a very formal and a person with a lot of etiquette. And that's a good thing. That's going to stay impacted. That's something I heard during my first day of class from my business communication. So it was like, it's something that's very true. You hear back, it feels good.
Exactly. And I think, it's just another step along the way of showing yourself as a full person, that holistic view of who you really are as a candidate, beyond test scores, beyond just sort of the numbers and things like that. So it's a great and underrated way and a really easy and polite thing to do. Just acknowledge the messages and, write back, be professional, show a little bit of personality even there, as and when it's appropriate. Excellent advice. I want to thank all three of you for taking time out on a Wednesday morning for you guys to come and speak to the GradRight student community. We get questions all the time on Instagram while we're talking to students about sort of the application process. So thank you so much for taking the time and really shining the light. I feel like we could have talked for hours and we barely scratched the surface, as it goes in terms of business school applications. So hopefully we can continue and invite you guys back on for the next in our series on Blueprint, whenever you have the time available to spare for us. This is a brand new series that we've started. We really wanted to make sure that we had time to bring in Indian student perspectives, on the admissions process, really hear it like it is, for students that are applying to the US, specifically for fall this year and in the future as well. I think these kinds of conversations are hugely valuable to anyone, wherever they are in their study abroad journey. So thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. Lovely seeing you, and hopefully I'll see you again.
Yeah, thank you, Priyanka. Have a good day. And I would like to share, if you want to share the email IDs, the students want to connect, they can. So you
Wonderful.
can
Yeah,
share our
we'd
email
love
IDs.
to. Do let us know what is the best way if students have questions or if they'd like to sort of continue this conversation with you. Maybe they have questions about your particular program, about your school. What's the best way to get in touch?
The email ID, I suppose we can share our email IDs, or if you are in contact with the students.
Yeah.
So you can just,
Done.
For me, I would recommend LinkedIn and email. Both is the best option, so that
email works for me as well. LinkedIn works as well. And
Amazing.
Thank you so much, Priyanka.
Yes, thank you so much. I feel again, I'm going to invite you guys back on. I feel like I have so much more that I want to talk to you about. And you guys were so candid and so open and sort of sharing your own journeys. Thank you so much for tapping into your experience and sharing that with our GradRight student community. I really appreciate it. Have a wonderful rest of your day and we'll see you soon.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.